It's no secret that our habits of consuming non-renewable resources is an unsustainable way of life, especially in the long view. With many renewable options decreasing in price and fossil fuel prices rising, switching to renewable sources of energy is not only environmentally sustainable, but also economically advantageous. Venture capital and private investment has pumped significant amounts of money into renewable energy development, hoping to make it readily available, affordable, and functional. Finally, in our development of renewable energy and a sustainable future, we must make sure to develop and manage it appropriately in order to build a long-standing system of sustainability. Renewable energy is not without its own environmental challenges, and we must use appropriate feedstocks, appropriate technology, and management to realize environmental benefits such as greenhouse gas reductions. Some of the key concepts in renewable energy are that biomass-based energy must be implemented in a manner that does not result in food crop competition, creating higher prices and potential food shortages in developing countries. In addition, geothermal resources need to be extracted in a way that does not deplete the resource or induce earthquakes. And finally, it's important to understand that all energy resources impact the environment to varying degrees, and these impacts can include wildlife habitat, noise, visual blight, manufacturing impacts, and end-of-life cycle issues. Renewable resources have been a part of our history for a long time, despite the fact they have not been highly used. The first wave energy patent was issued in France in 1799, followed in the next century by solar steam engines. Then large-scale windmill-generated energy in Ohio in 1866, and the first hydroelectric dam installed in 1888. However, it wasn't until 1973 and the oil crisis that our need for energy efficiency and technology was prompted. This was followed by the formation of the U.S. Department of Energy and the Solar Energy Research Institute, later becoming the National Renewable Energy Laboratory. Since our early days of renewable resources, the prospects of efficient and clean energy have greatly increased in momentum. Renewable energy is generated from resources that cannot be exhausted and are naturally replenishing. However, their availability may be intermittent. A non-renewable resource, on the other hand, is a resource that cannot be replenished in a relatively short amount of time. There are several subcategories within the category of renewable resources, and they can include clean tech, green energy, and sustainable energy. Clean tech refers to uses of innovative technology to create economically compelling, environmentally friendly products and services, including but not limited to alternative energy. Green energy refers to sources of power that are deemed to be environmentally friendly. This translates to those that are renewable and non-polluting. Sustainable energy refers to energy that is used in a manner that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. Biomass, hydro, and geothermal are renewable resources that have not always been harnessed in a sustainable manner. Wind, solar, and water are three very renewable resources. The use of these resources will not end up in the depletion of them. Hydro, geothermal, and biomass are renewable only if we use them carefully so as not to lead to the depletion of these resources. Another important option is simply being efficient with energy use. Efficiency reduces the need for supply resources in the first place. However, though there are many options for renewable resources, they only meet a small fraction of the world's energy needs. Oil, coal, natural gas, and nuclear power still produce the most energy for the world's needs. However, the use of renewable resources is projected to increase in the coming years. There are various pros and cons of renewable energy, just like there are with other sources of energy. Cons include things like high upfront costs, inconsistent and low support from national governments, deliverability of the resource, intermittent resources, and the fact that even renewable resources produce some environmental impacts, whether it's visual blight, noise, or in regard to things such as land use. However, although there are many cons, there are also many pros to renewable energy. Renewable resources typically have little to no variable costs for fuels. They produce less environmental damage than non-renewable resources. They're modular and distributed, meaning that it avoids transmission when it's part of a distributed energy system. And they produce very little amounts of carbon dioxide releasable to the atmosphere. Additionally, if fully utilized, renewable energy could significantly cut down the total amount of energy used. Not only would it benefit the environment, but coupled with efficient buildings, appliances, and cars that run partially or fully on electricity, U.S. oil imports could be cut in half using existing idle grid capacity. Additionally, power generated from renewable resources is competitive with that of conventional power resources. We face a future where energy alternatives, carbon capture and sequestration, production and consumption efficiency, and stabilizing or increasing forest or an agricultural productivity are the required paths to stabilizing and mitigating climate change. In the many proposed and practical ways to cut carbon emissions, energy efficiency and renewable resources make up more than half of them. Additionally, each option, including those that include renewable energy and energy efficiency, would reduce emissions by 1 billion tons of carbon. And over 50 years, each of the many pathways would reduce emissions by 25 billion tons of carbon. There are 5 key drivers of energy choices. Demand growth, which encompasses factors such as GDP growth, urbanization, and energy intensity. Supply challenges, which are production costs, social costs, and transmission and delivery of resources. Environmental constraints, such as local pollution, climate change, and environmental justice. Security of supply, including things like national security, trade, and import dependence. And finally, technology and policy. Though in the past there has been little support or investment in renewable energy sources, investment amounts have gained pace in the past decade and are expected to continue to rapidly rise. Between 2008 and 2009, a $20 billion increase to $150 billion was seen in renewable energy investments, and additionally, $40 to $45 billion was invested in large hydropower. 2/3 of that investment went to utility-scale projects, and 1/3 towards smaller-scale installations, such as rooftop solar photovoltaics and solar hot water. Venture capital and private equity investment amounts have decreased in the past years. However, public markets investment in clean energy firms has increased. Wind and solar power have been the fastest growing resources worldwide, with the US leading in wind and Germany leading in solar power. There are many different policy options and programs that could be enacted in order to advance the use of renewable energy. One option is utility programs, which includes things like rebates, low interest loans, and feed-in tariffs. Each of these operates through utility bills rather than through the tax system. However, low-interest loans can also be a government operation. Rebates are one option that have been included in some government initiatives, as well as energy efficiency programs. Feed-in tariffs set a guaranteed price paid for renewable energy produced. For example, Germany has set a solar power price of 50 cents per kilowatt hour. Aside from utility programs, technical standards are another option to advance our country and world towards clean energy. Renewable portfolio standards by the states, which help ensure a long-term market for renewable electricity, and emissions regulations are two such technical standards. Market-based operations are another common policy option. Green Power, one market-based program, allows the voluntary purchase of green power for those willing to pay a premium for cleaner energy. Renewable energy credits in conjunction with the RPS compliance or green power programs are another option. Another practical option is financial incentives, including things such as tax externalities, R&D funding, property assessed clean energy or PACE bonds, clean renewable energy bonds, and other incentives. Tax externalities include things like gas taxes. PACE bonds are a loan repaid through annual assessment on a property tax bill. And clean renewable energy bonds are zero interest bonds for untaxed entities like governments or nonprofits. The tax benefit flows to the bondholder. Finally, other incentives include things like investment tax credits, which are upfront, reduce the initial cost hurdle, and are an incentive to install, as well as production tax credits, which are per unit produced, which reduce operating costs and are an incentive to function. Finally, voluntary green power programs driven by customer demand are an option that allows consumers to choose what to support in terms of renewable energy. This program is offered by many utility programs across the country. The number of green power participating utility customers was over 650,000 in 2009, and these numbers have shown an increasing trend. Renewable energy is not a new concept in our country or the world. However, though clean energy techniques have long been ideas in society, our addiction to fossil fuels has not advanced the use of clean energy technologies, both in the past and the present. However, the petroleum era is coming to a close, and our changing climate will no doubt impact our energy reality. An example of this new reality is the state of New Jersey, a state not necessarily widely recognized as leading environmental change, yet it has become a solar state, with the second most total photovoltaics installed, with the third most per capita. New Jersey has mobilized its vast supply of industrial rooftops and shortfalls in transmission and distribution infrastructure to generate local power with decreased fuel price risk and peak generation capacity. Despite the capital costs, the very low long-term maintenance and operation costs, stability and carbon-free nature of the energy resource accelerates this state as a leader in renewable energy. New energy technologies, programs, and policies will become an increasingly important part of our energy world. As technologies and marketplace opportunities expand, we will find that renewable energy just makes sense. It makes sense for maintaining and improving our quality of life at a cost that will be increasingly competitive with fossil fuels, with a positive local impact of sustainable distributed energy production, and a global impact of reducing carbon loading to the atmosphere. It is a matter of time and technology and marketplace maturation, but renewable energy will be the foundation of our energy future.